Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. This is Unsa Waly, and in this video we will be talking about the remaining elements for designing key performance indicators. In the previous video we left on data collection methodology, and in this one we would be covering the other elements. So let's get started. After data collection methodology, organizations need to make sure that their indicator has a target or performance threshold. Organizations need some benchmarks. For example, if you take an example of net profit, then the organization need to make sure that where they want to get, so you could say that organization wants to reach X thousand by the end of quarter. This is the target or performance threshold for the indicator. So taking on the example of previous example of growing customer satisfaction, the target and performance threshold, for example, we could say that we want the customer satisfaction to increase by 55% by the end of 2022. After developing performance threshold or target, organizations need to focus on how often the data is collected or the data collection frequency. Organizations should collect the data frequently enough. For example, doing employee or customer survey once a year is not good enough because organizations can't see trends throughout the year. Organizations should increase the frequency of data collection to make them more meaningful. In this case of growing customer satisfaction, we could say, for example, that your organization will be getting into monthly data collection. That is 10% of the sample of overall organization's customer would be taken on for data collection. After deciding on the data collection frequency, organizations need to develop the data reporting frequency. That is, they need to make sure how often the data would be reported to the relevant audience. In this case of growing customer satisfaction, we could say that the organization would be reporting on monthly basis to the board of directors. Maybe the data is going in board for every December board meeting, so the organization needs to make sure that the data collection and the data reporting frequency both are aligned. After working on the data reporting frequency, organizations need to make sure that they have a responsible person who makes sure that the data is being collected, analyzed, and used properly. For example, he could be an individual in the finance team, then he need to make sure that the data around profitability is taken out of the accounting system and reported in the performance management reporting system. In this case of growing customer satisfaction, we could name the person or role responsible for collecting and updating the data. For example, he could be Mr. ABC, marketing assistant, who makes sure that the collection and updating of data is done properly. Further, the organizations need to identify the expiry or revision date of the indicator. Having an expiry date means that after a few months or a year, the organizations needs to see if the indicator is still valid. Do they have to still need to track this? And if not, then the organizations can get rid of this. For example, in this case of customer satisfaction, we could say that this indicator will expire after 24 months. So the expiry or revision date for this indicator would be 24 months, after which it will not be valid and organizations need not have to work on it and may want to get rid of this indicator immediately after 24 months. After the expiry and revision date, organizations need to validate the KPIs. That is, they need to estimate the cost incurred by introducing and maintaining this indicator. For example, if we talk about the staff or employee survey, then the staff or employee survey will be big numbers. because organizations would first run the survey, then analyze it. So the organizations need to take a decision if this indicator is worth doing, or there are cheaper ways to collect the data that are not as expensive as the staff or employee survey. In this case of growing customer satisfaction, the costs are significant but cheaper than a traditional customer satisfaction survey, as the customer satisfaction survey is done through mail. After having determined the incurred cost, organizations need to identify how complete is the indicator. That is, briefly assess how well this indicator is helping to answer the associated key performance questions and identify possible limitations. If we take the example of growing customer satisfaction, then this indicator provides us with a simple number, but the data should be supplemented with unstructured output, feedback output that would involve what is particularly good and what in the organizations could be improved to grow the customer satisfaction. Lastly, for designing key performance indicator that would turn out to be great, organizations need not forget the unintended consequences. Unintended consequences involves briefly describing how the indicator could influence the wrong behaviors or how people could cheat on this KPI. Talking about customer satisfaction, people could possibly influence customers before they take the survey, or they could select customers that are likely to respond positively. This was all about developing great KPIs. Thank you for watching. In the next video, we will be talking about smart KPIs, so stay tuned and like and subscribe to my channel.